Welcome to the Call to Action podcast with Nicole Majik, where conscious awakened leaders listen and action takers are rewarded. Join us for the insightful wisdom of today's special guest with an irresistible offer. All right, this is Nicole Majik with the Call to Action podcast, where professional service providers and strategists share their wisdom. It is 5 questions in less than 10 minutes because we value everyone's time and energy. So let's get on with it. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Gloria Grace Rand, and a lot of people have a number of business books on their shelves, and they're attending webinars and all these events to attract more clients. Well, what I do is, and what we're going to talk about in a minute, is how I explain how your success is actually limited because you're looking externally when you should be looking internally. So that's what I help folks do.
Excellent.
Internal wisdom so they can express themselves better.
Excellent. And what wisdom would you like to share, Gloria?
All right. Well, what I have found in working with entrepreneurs in particular, a lot of times people have imposter syndrome. And so one of the couple ways I've found to overcome that, I've got a whole 4-step process, but we may not have time for that here. But one of the couple of things that I recommend people do is that when you feel like you're not measuring up to someone else, you can do 2 things. You can, number one, you can survey your current clients and ask them what they like best about what you're doing so that you can remind yourself of that fact. And also review any past testimonials that you've had and positive reviews, because again, we all go through this time in our lives when we're feeling a little unsure of ourselves. So when you have that information handy, it's really good to be able to focus on, to remind yourself that yes, you have value and you are doing a really good job in the world. Which brings me to my other key point, is that another way to overcome imposter syndrome is to really focus in on what's unique about you, your background, your skills, your experience, instead of comparing yourself to other people. Because no matter how successful someone appears, you don't know really what is going on behind the scenes. They might appear really successful in their business, but maybe their home life is not doing too well. Maybe their relationship is suffering, or they're not getting along with their kids. Who knows? So it's much better off for you to just, again, reflect on your uniqueness, what particular experience you have, and communicate that. Don't be afraid to share that with your audience, with your clients, your prospects, and let them know why you are the one to work with, what you have to offer that is going to benefit them. And of course, keeping in mind what they are in particular looking for. You do always have to keep that part in mind. And just also remember that you are a worthy individual. My mom used to say, God doesn't make junk. And so, I believe we're all created in God's image. Now, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, it doesn't really matter. Just know that you're not junk. You are a valuable person. And, if you need to, look in the mirror and just tell yourself, I love you, from time to time. I love the practice that Louise Hay talked about. So that's sort of in a nutshell some of the things I think that would help people overcome imposter syndrome.
I love that. We tend to compare our worst thought about ourselves to the best perception we have of somebody else with that imposter syndrome. Thank you for that amazing nugget of information right there. That's so useful and people need to hear so much of. So let's get to question number 3. What other top service providers and strategists that you know who are successful like yourself would you like to give a shout out to?
Well, I tell you, I have a podcast of my own, and I've had a couple of guests on in the last year who are really awesome. And so one of them, her name is Lisa Reed, and she helps entrepreneurs and other public speakers get speaking gigs. That's her specialty, on helping you to be able to find those good places. And another person I had on was Michelle Molitor, and she's an author and coach, and she really works with leaders and helping them to build high-performing teams and exponentially increase their bottom line results. And she's got a whole modality around that. And we talked about, that it's okay to say no. Sometimes we forget that, we want to be all things to all people, but it's a good lesson to remember.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Shout out to them for all their amazingness and awesomeness and what they do. And let's see. Question number 4. What obstacle became your greatest opportunity, Gloria?
Oh, yeah. This is a good question. It's sort of twofold. And it's the first part of it sounds kind of strange, but it was a huge obstacle. It was actually when I lost my older sister to cancer back at the end of 2016. And she was like my cheerleader. She was my best friend. And after that, I had a really tough time kind of figuring out if I even wanted to stay in business. I sort of lost my way for a while. But it led me on a spiritual journey that enabled me to actually write a book. And again, one of the obstacles, not only was that an obstacle, it was realizing that I wanted to start talking about spirituality instead of online marketing, which I had been doing mostly because I've been a copywriter for most of my business up until this point. And so I was really afraid of what people would think about me starting to talk about God and stuff like that, and love and things like that. But as it turned out, it was a blessing because people were receptive to it, I should say. And it led to other speaking opportunities and really helped me then get over some of my self-doubts and to be able to embrace who I am. And that's what my book is about. And I was able to get that published this year, which was awesome.
And is that the book that we see back there?
Yeah.
Live, Love, Engage. See that?
Mhm.
Awesome. Now for the final question, number 5. This is the final fun question. What is your irresistible call to action for our action takers today?
All right. Well, this is something that will complement what I was talking about earlier today. I was sort of giving you a little taste of it. I have a free guide that is called Uniquely You: How to Move from Self-Doubt to Self-Love in 4 Simple Steps. And it has a little bit of what I was talking about earlier today about overcoming imposter syndrome. So a couple of those steps are mentioned in there. So you'll be able to get all 4 of them with the guide.
Excellent. So I encourage you guys to go over to Gloria's website, which is
GloriaRand.com. Pretty easy.
excellent. So for everybody listening, it's in the description. And don't forget to listen to the next episode of the Call to Action podcast, where conscious awakened leaders listen and action takers get rewarded. I'd love to hear your favorite takeaway from this episode, especially using Gloria's 4 steps to go from self-doubt to self-love. Simple, easy. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, everyone. I'm Nicole Majik. Have a spectacular day. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for listening. I hope you found today's episode insightful and invaluable to elevating your own business.